If you look at my social media for more than 2 seconds and manage to find my last.fm, you will get the impression that I find music to be pretty decent. So allow me to autistically ramble about the utter trash that is my music taste for a couple of minutes. I don't really know where to start, so I'll just begin by saying I'm one of those people that will turn any conversation about music into a borderline acid trip because they'll talk about how I think American Football LP1 is one of the greatest albums to ever grace the earth, and then decide to change gears completely and shield Blood Incantation for 10 minutes, and then talk about fucking, I don't know, Talk's post-rock albums. That's just the nature of being terminally online and being a music fan, though it's not really that impressive after a while. You can only go so far by just randomly name dropping a bunch of bands and albums that you think are really cool before people get the gist and start angrily yelling, "We get it! You like Demolished by Weed! You don't need to keep telling us!" That said, a lot of people tend to look at those with wide taste in music as being show-offs who just want to pull out the most obscure nonsense possible, which yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it. I sometimes do feel like throwing out really good music that quote-unquote nobody has ever heard of for the sake of brownie points. I don't care if your uncle doesn't know about Live to Experience. I'll gladly talk about it. Restricting yourself to one genre or group of genres, or even just like an era of music, is honestly really boring. And while I get that not everyone wants to devote their entire lifetime to listening to all kinds of music in the hopes to discover Merzbow, I can't be the only one who groans when some random dipstick online will talk about the greatest albums of all time, and it's a three-way tie between Kendrick Lamar's best works and a Tyler album if you're lucky. Like, I'm personally into shit like progressive rock and metal, psychedelic rock, post-punk, post-rock, and the like, but that's only a fraction of the shit I devote my time listening to. Like, just as an example, I've been listening to jazz, primarily the classics as of recent, and my god, it's been worth it. Headhunters by Herbie Hancock, brilliant album, one of the best I've listened to in a while. I love Supreme, John Coltrane. Good lord, what a classic. Then there's Miles Davis with In a Silent Way, Bitches Brew, and Sketches of Spain. I haven't even listened to Kinda Blue, but that's probably really good. So worth it. I love this genre. Scenery by Ryo Fukui. Fucking amazing album. I love this shit. I am so down for any recommendations people have. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is one of my 7 personality traits, but that's fine by me because this shit is fire. I love having nearly 7,000 Scrabbles. That said, I'm fine with being a chameleon who will insert himself into a pop music discussion with the only contribution being about Lana Del Rey. I guess that shows how quirky I am. Sometimes though I feel like I'm a bit too forgiving with how open I am to listening to anything because I like new and old Arctic Monkeys, which apparently that's a sinful take, but not as much as being an unironic Dream Theater fan, even though I think Tool is marginally better. Tool Rankin, Lateralis, Anima, and Undertow. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. I'll admit that I'm still scratching the surface with music. I'm not someone who will pull out the most obscure jazz fusion vinyl on a whim, and I don't even have time to listen to everything John Dwyer and Frank Zappa have released in their lifetimes, even though I want to. And there are some genres I've just not properly researched, like shoegaze. I've listened to everything My Bloody Valentine have released except MVV. There's Souvlaki, which is literally the namesake of this channel. And then there's the best fucking shoegaze album ever made, Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas. I fucking love that shit. And apparently Swans counts. The Sierra was pretty good. Honestly, I only recently started getting into post-rock, but Spiderland, Millions Now Living, Never Die, Mogwai Young Team, and D.I. Go Pop are all classics I'm glad I checked out. I'm not even afraid to admit I unironically like Monarch of Monsters, and that's the fucking brony post-rock album. I haven't listened to Bark Psychosis, and I do like the 2 Talk Talk albums. Stereolab is also pretty good. I'm just naming post-rock bands at this point. Room Temperature Take, Godspeed You Black Emperor are really good at post-rock, and I love their first 3 albums, and their newest one, mwah, love that shit. Speaking of post-genres, I've genuinely listened to more post-punk from the current wave than the classics, because at least I can say I've listened to more than 2 albums from a crankwave band. Geese, Squid, BCNR, Black Midi, you name it, they're all bands I heavily enjoy, and I have listened to everything from. Meanwhile, of the classics, from the top of my head, the only post-punk album from the early years I can think of that I've actually listened to in full is Marky Moon, which is one of the greatest things to ever grace the earth. One problem when I'm getting into a genre though is that I quickly get overwhelmed by all the options. I've listened to an obscene amount of prog, but I'm a fake fan because I haven't listened to Camel, but I've listened to all of Marillion's albums. Who the fuck knows about Marillion? I'm a fucking hack. Then there's the entire Australian psychedelic rock scene, who I swear to god are all friends with each other. Anyone King Gizzard, Pond, or Tame Impala went to college with or are friends with are all within the same bubble, and it's terrifying. That said, there are lesser known Australian bands that are really cool, like the 7 Ups, and then there's all the King Gizzard side projects like the Murlocs, Pipe By, and Heavy Boss. Then there's John Dwyer, the legend himself, and all of the albums he has released under OCs and other names. And then there's bands like Doomgong, who nobody has ever heard of, but I'm a huge fan of, that are heavily inspired by what King Gizzard and OCs have done. I've been told before that I'm somewhat of a musical encyclopedia and my taste is so varied, which I guess both are true, but just because I've listened to Dope Smoker, Earth 2, and Long Season doesn't mean I'm that impressive of a person to talk to. Honestly, I'm at the point now where I'm just writing random album and band names down in my script because of how I get when talking about this shit. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm at the point where after listening to it for all my life and not liking it, I'm starting to finally understand the appeal of reggae. This is the part of the video where I show my quickly growing CD collection in an attempt to look smart. Overall, this is only a very small portion of the music I'm into, and I'm always down for some recommendations. I suppose one can look at this as a little introduction to the music content I'm going to start putting out on this channel before I can actually commit to ideas that I like and actually think of something fun to talk about. I don't know, I'm just saying shit at this point.